your name is Ugas. Introducing the truth, Errol Spence Jr.
Saturday, April 16th, Dallas, Texas. All eyes on AT&T Stadium as two of the top welterweights in the world go head-to-head and battle for welterweight supremacy. Today we go over their advantages. Let's get it. In boxing, any little advantage could be the difference between winning and losing. It's especially true when you got two guys as talented as Spence and Ugas with the pedigree that these two guys possess. Both guys being Olympians. Ugas in 2008 winning the bronze medal, and Spence in 2012 being part of the United States Olympic team. But here, we're going to talk about those advantages. Let's start with Spence. Advantage number one for Spence, speed. Right here you see him step in, get inside, a quick jab, and immediately he's right back out before Garcia can even respond or react to the punch.
And, I think, great combination by Spence right there.
And it's not just foot speed that he has the advantage in. It's also hand speed and when to throw those combinations. You see he has this fight up against the ropes. And then we see here that he is using his combinations along with his feet to continue this barrage of punches, which brings us to our second advantage, which of course is Spence's footwork. This is where I think Errol Spence has the greatest advantage, and this is going to play one of the bigger roles in this fight because one thing about Ugas is he has a great jab, and we'll talk about that later, but you can't always come in and out. And you see Errol come in quickly and put himself in a position to be on the offensive and Garcia on the defensive, which brings us to our final advantage, and that's power. I think Ugas can punch, but I think Spence has a little more pop in his hands. So there are my three advantages for Spence. Now let's look at Ugas. Now everybody knows after watching Ugas that one of his advantages, his biggest advantage probably, is his jab. Just like most fighters, he uses his jab to set up other punches, and sometimes he uses it to find range. But his jab also makes it hard for his opponents to get the punches off that they need to get. So his jab also serves defensively for him. Now, as we get into these last two advantages for Ugas, I'm going to pay attention to a particular fight, which also happens to be the common opponent between the two, and that's when Ugas fought Porter, which most people feel was probably one of his better performances, even though he didn't get the decision. When I compare Spence versus Porter and Ugas versus Porter, there's a very distinctive difference, and that difference is in Porter's work rate. See, against Ugas, Porter only threw 449 punches. Against Spence, he threw 744 punches. And the reason why was because of that jab and Ugas' length. You see, Porter's one of the most active fighters in the welterweight division, and we can see here that he's kind of bouncing around, waiting for an opportunity, but because of Ugas' length, it takes him a long time to get a punch off. Now, what's interesting about Ugas is his length is also created sometimes. You look here at how wide his stance is and how square his shoulders are, which creates length and makes it more difficult for a fighter to get inside of that range. And because of that, we see Porter waiting and waiting and waiting, which is not like Porter. Now, this happened over and over again in this fight, and here we are in the 8th round, and we'll see Porter go almost 20 something seconds without throwing a punch. This is not Porter's game. This is not Porter's fight. Obviously, Ugas' length caused him a lot of problems, and I think his length will be an advantage in the Spence fight. Which brings me to my final advantage for Ugas, and that is strength. Throughout the fight against Porter, Porter was able to get Spence up against the ropes. However, against Ugas, he did not enjoy that same advantage, as Ugas consistently kept coming forward. And I think in the Spence fight, both fighters prefer to come forward. I think that'll play a factor in how this fight ends up. And we can see that even though Porter's trying to push Ugas back, he just can't. And he's trying to push him back to create that little bit of separation so he can get off a little bit easier. But Ugas was having none of that. And I think both fighters in the Spence-Ugas fight will want to come forward to play a big factor in who wins. So there are my advantages coming into this big fight, April 16th, Dallas, Texas. I know I'll be watching. I hope you'll be watching. My prediction video will be coming up later. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And as always, keep your hands up at all times.